Kill.Switch streeted way back in '03, quite some time ago in video game terms, but its legacy lives on whether you've heard of this game or not. In fact, if you're a fan of Gears of War, Dark Sector, or even Army of 2, you should give Switch a tip of your proverbial hat. That's right, this is arguably the one that started it all 3 full years before Gears. Now some would give that credit to an older craptastic Japanese game called Winback, but the cover fire mechanics were stilted to say the least. Plus factor in the blind fire that originated here and I dismiss Winback outright. But hey, that's just me. Maybe we can initiate a paternity test someday and settle it. Anyway, Kill.Switch was light on story and heavy on confusion. What's there is interesting but never fleshed out. To make a long story short, you play as 2 men in one body, that of a badass super soldier whose past comes back to haunt him as he tries to start World War III. Most of the cutscenes consist merely of a floating camera revolving around our anti-hero as he stares vacantly, his lips not even moving, as 2 voices converse with one another inside his cranium and say a bunch of crazy shit like, "Think like a gun."
Anything else? Do what you do best. Think like a gun.
It's confusing, it's silly, and it's a tad funny. I don't think this is what the designers were going for. Regardless, the gameplay in Kill.Switch is key, and I'll be damned if it doesn't still hold up to this day. In fact, if anything, the duck cover blind fire thing fits better in a real world setting like this than it does in the more fantastical Gears or Sector. Shooting random bad guys is still an enjoyable experience despite graphics that weren't really even cutting edge in 2003. Unfortunately, Switch suffers from a maddening cheapness. Levels don't give you the benefit of checkpoints or mid-mission saves, which means if you take a grenade full on, you die instantly and have to do the whole thing over again from the beginning. Even enemies that catch you unawares can kill you in a second flat if you're not careful. To put it mildly, checkpoints would have been welcome here. The game's not so much challenging as it is annoying at times. And needless to say, that was a problem then, and it's damn sure a problem now. The game's brevity is another factor, and even then the thing's padded out with some bland warehouse missions that make you long for the war-torn Middle Eastern opening and the ensuing firefight at sea. In other words, Kill.Switch is far from perfect, but it deserves credit where credit is due. Whether you want to admit it or not, the power of hindsight definitely makes it clear that Switch revolutionized the third-person shooter with a fresh and groundbreaking style of play that is mimicked to this day in several far better known titles. Me, I'd like to see Namco return on next-gen consoles with a Kill.Switch sequel, address the first game's glaring faults, and make a play for the throne upon which Gears of War sits. After all, this is where it all began, and gamers everywhere would do well to remember that. Oh, and just to put this one to bed, the game is not called Kill.Switch, as game trailers might lead you to believe. If you don't want to take my word for it, just listen to the bitch at the title screen.
Kill.Switch.
Yeah, I think the game knows what it's called.